All right, Maureen.
Yeah, thank you everybody for joining. This week we have some more great content lined up. On Tuesday, we are going to be hearing again from the blind history lady, and that is always so interesting. On Wednesday, we'll be doing our group workout again. So we'll be having our all levels workout, and then at 5:45, we'll be doing an advanced workout. On Thursday, we will be talking about eating in the pandemic, kind of staying away from this, impulsive snacking that a lot of us kind of go to. We're also going to be talking about some meatless meals. There's been some meat shortages, so we just want to bring that up, and eating healthy on a budget. It's going to be a great call. And then on Friday, we'll be having another Philosophy Friday, so make sure to join us this week. Also, a reminder, if you need any COVID-19 assistance and you're in Colorado, please call 303-778-1130, extension 219. If you want to become a member of the National Federation of the Blind, please call and leave us a message and we'll get in contact with you and definitely get you plugged in. You can also send emails to assistance@nfbco.org. That is assistance@nfbco.org, and I will turn it over to Jess.
All right,
Thanks.
Scott Labar, do you have anything before we get going?
No, just want to welcome everybody and welcome Scott and point out that he has a great name.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Good. Yeah.
We love our Scots in Colorado.
Yeah.
And we love our NFB Newsline too, so it works out. So Scott White is with us for our My Blindness Monday. Scott is the director of Sponsored Technology Programs at the National Federation of the Blind Jernigan Institute. Scott has been the manager of NFB Newsline since 2006, and he has a lot of other hats in addition to managing NFB Newsline. But I'm not going to tell his story for him. He has some really interesting previous careers that he has participated in, and he loves to volunteer. He is the president of his local Baltimore chapter, and he also has served on the State Rehab Commission Board in Virginia. In Scott's spare time, he really enjoys reading and traveling with his beautiful wife, who is one of my favorite people, Genevieve White. So I had to include her in the introduction here. Technology, experimenting with technology, using computers. He's going to be very interesting guest today, and I think you guys are all going to really enjoy and find inspiration from Scott White. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jessica, for the nice introduction. So, and appreciate the opportunity for everyone coming out this evening.
So the first question that I wanted to ask Scott is that, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood and growing up as a blind child?
Well, I did grow up. Well, maybe. Okay, so I tried anyway. Okay, so one of the important takeaways that I take for reflecting back on my childhood is my parents did something extremely important. They treated me no different than anybody else. Now, I have no brothers and sisters. Of course, I had cousins and everything, but they just treated me the exact same. I mean, when it came to, we lived out in a rural environment, so we were very heavy into having a garden and growing vegetables and things like that. So I participated in that. I unfortunately had the chores, and like any other teenager, I went grumble, 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 but I'm glad in hindsight, of course, that they made me do those things, because, those are the things that we talk about that are so important to make blind kids do age-appropriate things and have age-appropriate responsibilities.
Absolutely.
And I also, when I was a child, I remember helping to change the expectations of like my grandfather as well, because, we had, they lived down on the farm, and they had cows that they would let out into the field and graze on, after they had harvested the corn or whatever. They would go ahead and extend the fence, and then they'd have to take that up, of course, in order to go ahead and plant the field again. And I can remember, just doing that and going down and taking down the poles and things like that. And I think I just, I also helped to change the expectations of the people around me as well.
So when you were younger, did you know what type of work you wanted to go into?
I did not. I remember being young and saying, Dr. White will fix you up right. I remember saying that, but I probably was about 6 or 7 at that time. Now, later on, I did not find the National Federation of the Blind until later. And as my sight diminished, I did have not full sight when I was young. I had retinitis pigmentosa. And of course, that deteriorated over the years. And I didn't have full sight when I was growing up and so forth, but I didn't find the National Federation of the Blind until later. But I did, so I didn't have the exact expectations that a person would have. So later on, when I found the Federation, then I believed I could have done the things like with psychology and so forth that I wanted to do.
So Scott, I know that you did go to college and were able to achieve degrees. And so what were some of your challenges as a blind student in college, and what resources did you use to get through those challenges?
Well, I remember a couple of stories that illustrate some of the challenges. Of course, rather than the coursework, you of course have the challenge of, and it still is a challenge today, of getting, the exact textbooks and so forth. It was more of a challenge, hate to say how long ago that was, but it was more of a challenge to get everything then. But I remember one of the challenges was some of my professors. For example, I remember that my first wife, who's passed away now, we were taking an accounting class. And we got she got, I think, a 96 or a 98, and I got a 95 on the test. And the professors, said, I do not understand how you all can do that being blind when everybody else in the class got a D or lower. So I, being my forceful self, I said, I know you're not accusing me of cheating. So, of course, that backed him down. Now, of course, the way that we took the test then is we were both in separate rooms, and, sighted people sometimes don't realize that you can see them and so forth like that. So he'd come and he'd peek around in the window every now and then. I'd see him looking around. So I don't know how he thought I, might have cheated. But after I pointed that out to him, he didn't say that anymore. I also remember one thing that was in college as well. I took a lot of programming classes, and one of them is assembler. And I remember having to do what's called a printer spacing chart. And that's basically where you have to lay out the report exactly character for character and your spaces and everything like that. I had someone over at the Disability Services read it to me, the assignment, and they recorded it back in that day on cassette tape for me. And I followed the instructions precisely. And once I got the grade back for that particular program, I had a 96. But she said I did it right. And I went to her and said, well, why? And she said, you did it exactly right after I talked to her and explained and let her actually listen to the instructions that I was given. But she said, that was not what I gave you. She says, when you get out in the real world, your employer is not going to worry about how you interpreted the information. If it's not right, it's not right. That was an important lesson to learn, and I'm glad that she taught me that. So, so sometimes I did run into professors that did have high expectations for blind people.
So tell me a little bit about how you became involved in the National Federation of the Blind. When was the first time you heard about the Federation, and what inspired you to join?
Well, the first time I heard about the Federation is when I was in the American Council of the Blind. And I went and wanted to do some research. I won't go into it, but there were some reasons that I had for looking around at other organizations. So I did my research, and then I went to the NFB of Virginia convention. And I give a lot of credit to Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown, I mean, they were so welcoming. They knew I was a member of ACB at the time. They were so welcoming, really, and that was really impressive to me. So later on, I got a fellowship and went to my first national convention and found out the exact same thing. Just more people just, be nice to you. So everybody was really supportive. So that's how I became originally involved in the Federation. And of course, NFB Newsline had a part to do as well, because I love that when I first signed up for it, and I've been reading it, daily pretty much ever since then. And that particular service is what got me on the road to actually the National Federation of the Blind.
All right. So what types of work did you do before you started working for the National Federation of the Blind?
Well, the most recent thing that I did was for Circuit City Stores, and Circuit City Stores, of course, went bankrupt and not with us anymore. But what I did there is I was a senior systems administrator, and by the time that I left there, I was managing, I guess on the team it's like 5 or 6 people, and what we did is we worked on the point of sale mainframes that, or sort of mini computers that had in each one of the stores. So what I would do is, from a hardware and software perspective, if the store went down, I would have to dial in. At that time we used a modem and connect to the store and actually fix the computer. Or it was a perfect job for a blind guy, because I dialed in via modem. It was all accessible, and I basically directed the technician what to change and what boards to swap out and everything. They did all the work with that, and then I would just ask them, they would tell me what lights were on. And that's the way we diagnosed a lot of it. So it really worked out well for that. I've also done things like selling computers. That was very interesting. I first started out selling to the residential market, and that was okay. But then I moved to the commercial market, and then that really took off. I really enjoyed that. I remember my boss at the time saying, well, you go into your office and you go in there at 8:30 and you don't come out to 5 o'clock. And I said, well, now you know why I sell between $80,000 and $90,000 a month. So that went really well for me. Another thing I've done prior to that is I worked with selling investments. I liked that work, but I just wasn't able to make as much money at it as I actually needed. Other things that I've done, even before that, sort of through college, is I worked for my local radio reading service. I'm originally from Richmond, Virginia area. And I was able to work at what's called the Virginia Voice. It's a radio reading service in Richmond, Virginia. And I worked there as a studio technician. So those are some of the things that I've done.
Awesome. So I want you to tell us a little bit about your work with NFB Newsline, and also, can you give us a sneak peek as to what might be on the horizon for Newsline? Just something for us listeners tonight.
Everybody tries to pull that one on me. So my work with NFB Newsline, the part that I enjoy the most is doing the presentations. Like when you assisted me that night when we did the presentation for the Alexa, the Amazon devices, doing those type of activities, talking to our actual members. I've done a lot. I think in April I did like total 17 or 19 presentations. A good majority of those were with different affiliates. So that's the favorite part of the job, is talking with the individual members. I know it's an awesome responsibility to know that, I've got to try to keep up the funding as much as I can from a national perspective, both for the National Federation of the Blind and also for the blind people that are in that state or depending on me, to go ahead. And sometimes it's a little bit of a pressure as far as knowing you have to try your best to keep the funding. And sometimes it's a struggle, but luckily we've had pretty good success at that.
Excellent. And
you noticed I skipped the other part, didn't you?
I know, that's what I was gonna say. Well, what about things that aren't maybe so secret that you see on the horizon?
Okay. Well, let me go ahead and take this opportunity, because I always want to highlight the app that we're working on. So the NFB Newsline Mobile 3.0. Now, for people can go ahead and download that app, can become part of the beta process. It's available on our website, nfbnewsline.org. And you can go, and it gives you the instructions there how to register for it. This new version of the app has quite a bit of differences in it. It has a lot of customization that you can put in it. A lot of the information is streamlined in an easier way to find, I believe. Also, President Rick Bono wanted to make the core elements of the KNFB reader technology available, so we're going to be incorporating that into NFB Newsline. So if someone pulls like 2 packages out of the freezer and they go, well, what's this? So now you can be able to take a picture of that with NFB Newsline Mobile, and that will be able to read that to you as well. Now, if you desire the full features of KNFB Reader, that's still purchase app. What we're talking about including here is more of the point and shoot, the core elements, the basic elements. That's why we call it KNFB Reader Basic.
Awesome. Tell us about some of the assistive technology or alternative techniques that you use on a regular basis.
Well, the first one that comes to mind is the one that I'm using right now, and it's a BRL. So that Braille has helped me so much through my schooling, college. Now, I didn't really learn Braille, and they were very good at getting me to use a cane, and I started that probably about the 6th grade. When I really needed to, because I wouldn't be able to visually, I could not detect steps anymore. So falling down those doesn't suit you too well. So anyway, but Braille has really served me. I started learning it in the 8th grade, and the approach necessarily, I'm not the fastest Braille reader because I haven't been immersed in Braille, but I love Braille, and Braille is really done well by me. I mean, like when I was working at Circuit City and I was given a project, and I know people were going, how is he going to keep track of all this information and then report on it to us in the meeting? We know he has this talking computer and he uses that fine, but how is he going to actually report on the information and the statistics and everything that he's all collected? So I brought at that time I was using the Braille note, and I put all the information in there, and I was just rattling off, and actually people said, slow down. We can't write this stuff down as fast as you're reading it. So that is the number one thing. And I mean, I use Braille for everything. So, I mean, from writing down things with financial matters to just quick notes, I don't see how I would be able to get along without it. It's really important to me. The second thing is, of course, the use of the talking computer and iPhones, like a lot of people have. Those are some of the other technologies that I use.
Excellent. So some of us have known you a while, and others are just now getting to know you. But for all of us on here, tell us something interesting about you that we might not already know.
Okay. Kilo Golf for Delta Papa Zulu. That is my call sign for amateur radio. I'm an amateur radio operator, currently holding a technician class license, and I'm studying to get my general license. Hopefully I'll be able to get that. I don't know if I'll be able to take the test because there aren't any tests. There's a few locations that are being done remotely now, but hopefully I'll be able to work that out. But anyway, I've got, I have one room in the house that Jen lets me run wires around. So, and that's the room I'm speaking to you now. So I have that, wires in here. I have all my radios and things like that in here. So getting back into that and a lot of different facets with the amateur radio.
That's awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. So what advice would you give to a newly blind person?
Well, this will probably sound sort of cliche, but I would say the best advice is 3 letters, NFB. And, at the beginning of the presentation tonight, you mentioned, I have been the past president of our TLC chapter here in Baltimore County, but not the Baltimore County. Not the Baltimore City chapter. But, and I was a chapter president back in Richmond as well. And just, there's so many people, and I talk to people every day that certainly could use and knowledge with us and being affiliated with us to learn. I mean, because you probably would not be surprised that when I talk to individual subscribers and I mention to them that I use the service and that I'm totally blind. You are? They cannot imagine that. They just don't have they haven't had the experience. They haven't been connected with anybody. They haven't had the positive role models that we can give them in the Federation. So that's the first thing that I would say to everybody. And then the second thing is, you need to listen to some of the materials, especially some of the materials from our presidents and past presidents, to get an idea, to understand it's respectable to be blind. And because, there's a lot of people that I've tried to get to use a cane and they will not do it. They obviously need to use a cane, but they just will not do it. They don't want to be seen as that blind person. But I've known plenty of cases where people that should have been using a cane that didn't have really made a scene of themselves just by walking into poles, not getting knocked down on the ground, walking into plate glass, because, when you have certain eye conditions, it doesn't look like it's glass there to you as your sight diminishes. I mean, it's just, those are the things that I would say to really hook up with good role models.
So I didn't talk to you about this question, but I think you're going to be fine to answer it anyways. what advice would you give to someone who's not already signed up for NFB Newsline?
Oh, I don't know. So, well, NFB Newsline is an audio information source, and I know I do the day-to-day running of it, but it's just fantastic. It's phenomenal amount of the information that you can get on there. And the interest now, we have so much material on there. Of course, there's a lot of material that is in the world that's print that we don't have access to. Things are much better through NFB Newsline and other sources today, but there's more stuff available now. I don't have time to read it all. I do, read NFB Newsline, and I use Bookshare, and then also occasionally we use the NLS through the bar download and so forth. But I would encourage everybody, if you're not signed up for NFB Newsline, that you owe it to yourself to do it, and that you should give it an honest try for 10 days. At the conclusion of the 10 days, if you find something that didn't find exactly something that was of interest to you, then I want to know about it. And I tell people I'm serious about this because the interests are so diverse on there. And one common thing I hear is from people saying, oh, well, there's so much bad news. I don't want to read more. Okay, well, NFB Newsline is constructed so you don't have to. You can go and pick the sections that you want. Let's say you just wanted to know about your favorite sports team. Okay, you can go and find that. If that's all you care about and that's all you want to know, that's all you're going to have to read. So there's so much material in it, and it's so vast that I think it covers an awful lot of people.
I would agree. And I think especially right now with the COVID-19 pandemic going on, I really find myself gravitating toward the Johns Hopkins data and also the COVID-19 breaking news. And then it's just one of the best ways that I found to get up-to-date information right there, right when I want it. So I appreciate that a lot. Kevin Kovacs, can you see if we have some questions?
All right. If you have any questions for Scott White, if you're dialing in, it's *9. If you're on the JAWS computer, it's Alt-Y, and on the app, it's under the More section in the bottom right to raise your hand, and I will unmute you. All right. We've got the Dan Burke. Dan.
Hello, Dan. How are you this evening?
Hey, this is Dan and Julie. Hi, Scott.
Hello.
And I always like to know about romance. So I'd like to know, how did you meet your wife?
Okay, so Jen and I met on a telephone system. Now, of course, now you've got your Match.coms and things like that. But back in our day, Jen and I have known for each other for 20 years. So what we did is, it was a phone system. It was, sort of like in the basic way, sort of like an NFB Newsline, where it was not voice interactive, but it was interactive response. And you would just press buttons and it would move to the next person, or you could leave a message or talk directly to that person. So that's how we met. And actually we met one night, and our first date was the next day.
Oh, that's so great.
Wow, like telephone speed dating.
And he does have a beautiful voice. So, I mean, I get it.
I did go, I did go through the thing that a lot of guys go through, and of course I knew Jen was sighted, and when, it sort of speeds it up that you have to tell her you're blind when you're going to meet her the next day. So, so I did that. So I can still remember that fresh in my mind. That luckily, it's been beautiful ever since, and that had zero, meaning to her that I was blind. And of course I had done some dating before I met Jen and so forth. And, you really can tell when people are more interested, how do you do this? How do you do that? Rather than, more about you. So, and Jen's always just been wonderful.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
That was probably too long of an answer for you, but
I think it was perfect.
Dan, do you have anything?
No. Right. Thanks, Scott.
All right, we've got Lee Martin. Lee, you can hit accept under the there you go. Or no. You can unmute, Lee. There you go.
Okay. All righty, Scott. That was a very interesting conversation there on how you met your wife. Enjoyed that. But my question is for individuals that want to have new publications added and magazines added to the service, what is the procedure for that process? What's the process for that?
Basically, what you would do is, first step is really to contact me, and then the individual sponsor, we have to make arrangements with them, whatever the funding source, since there's a cost for that. But anybody that's interested in that, you can just give me a call at the National Center, and it's extension 2231.
Any other questions? All right. Abraham.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Scott, thank you so much for that. Was a wonderful presentation. I appreciate that. My question is, how do individuals go about pretty much making a donation to make sure these services continue? Because it's outstanding of what you guys do. And I appreciate the service as well. Just started using it the last couple of months, but how do we go about making a contribution to make sure this continues?
Okay, well, I appreciate that. The best way to do that is to call the National Center, and our number is 410-659-9314. And listen, go past the introductory message saying that the building is closed right at the moment, and then it goes to a listing. And I think it's option 4 off the menu, and then just follow those prompts, and that will lead you to the person that can take a donation.
Awesome. Thanks, Abe.
Marianne.
Hi, Scott. It's great to see you in this venue. It's been a while since I've gotten to say hi in person in different places with you, and lovely to hear way more of your story. So thanks for sharing with us this evening. I feel like I learned more from you here than I did at the IAAIS, which is awesome because I know you were just there about Newsline, but it was great to know you more. I am wondering though, what got you from Circuit City to working all the programming and such for Newsline? How did you make that jump from programming out in the quote unquote retail real world out into our place and into this awesome job that you have now?
Well, what happened there is I was invited up for one of the leadership seminars. At that time, our president was Dr. Maurer, and I was invited to a leadership seminar. And then at the conclusion of the seminar, he offered everybody to come and have a one-on-one with him. And myself and a couple other people were the only ones who took advantage of it. I was like, I just didn't understand why the people didn't. Anyway, when I had my one-on-one with Dr. Maurer, I mentioned to him, and I said, if you are looking for anybody, I love NFB Newsline, and told him how much that I really appreciated in having its availability to be able to access it, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so I went on back home, and probably about 1.5 years to 2 years later, Dr. Maurer must have remembered that, and then he told Mr. Gashel, you got to call Scott White and see if he'll come up for an interview. So I get a call from Mr. Gashel one day, and that was back when we were test driving basically and doing the beta testing for the KNFB Reader Classic, the very first one we came out, which had the little PDA and the camera on it. And of course, he was working with that project, and I thought that's why he called me. It really knocked me for a loop when he said, would you like to come up for an interview? And I said, yes, of course. So, and that's how it happened. Of course, there was other considerations. I was with Jen at the time. I started at the National Federation of Blind in 2006. So we had to do the usual things, and we had 2 of our kids living with us, so we had to worry about school and all that stuff. So we figured all that out, and I came up here for the interview, and then went home, and Jen and I talked about it over the weekend, and then I called Mr. Gashel on Monday, and I started a few weeks later. Actually, my first day was July 1st, and it was at the Dallas convention.
Nice.
So, and that was a good way to throw me in the fire right there. So
soon after that did Jen start working for NFB?
She started a couple years later, right around, I think it was January 5th of 2009.
Nice.
We've got a phone number 0113.
Yes, I would like to ask, how are we able to find a link on this interview?
So when it's over, it will be on the National Federation of the Blind of Colorado YouTube channel. So if you go to YouTube and you search for National Federation of the Blind of Colorado on YouTube, you'll be able to find our channel, and all of these videos are going to be posted. All these audio sessions are posted on that channel. It might take a couple days for us to get it up, but it will be up there eventually.
All right. Then we've got Milton. Milton, you can unmute there. There you go.
Okay, I am unmuted, I hope.
Yes, sir.
Question for Scott. When are we going to see the fix on the target ads on the beta version of the mobile app?
They should be working. They were working, so this is the first I've heard of that. But anyway, we will go ahead and check into that. But as far as I know, that they are working. They were down for a while, just as they were on the phone system, because Target had changed their interface and the way that they sent us information. And we're actually looking to, I had a meeting with them last week, and we're looking to improve the process to even get more data from them that will supply. The information that you get now is really great, but we're hoping we can add some more product detail and things like that in it.
Awesome.
We've got David Dino Terrace. There you go, Dave. Yep, you're unmuted.
Oh, why did you?
Yes.
Why did you let him in the door, people?
Questions. I've got questions. Scott, I wonder, can you talk about, a lot of people say, well, Newsline's really for, seniors. That's really, that's who really we is senior just for seniors, or who else uses Newsline?
Well, somebody named Dino Terrace does quite a bit. But no, we have people from all age groups. So now, if a senior has lost a vision due to macular degeneration and the sight is diminishing, yes, they love NFB Newsline because they know what was in the paper and they know what they're looking for. Younger folks, they may gravitate towards the iPhone and more of the magazines. But no, I think at one convention I saw, one person came by the table, and this is unique now. They were 6 years old, and they were reading stuff on NFB Newsline. And then it's been a couple years ago, but the person that's the oldest was 103. So let's say if you're between 6 and 103.
Is that all the questions, Kev?
Yep, so far.
All right, we'll give it just a second. If anyone else has a question, you can use *9. You can use the raised hand feature under the More section on the app, or Alt-Y on your computer. And we're calling for last questions for Scott White. Oh, Kevin Kovacs has a question, and he's too shy to ask it out loud himself, so he just whispered it to me. And he's wanting to know, when is the new app going to go from beta to live on the App Store?
As soon as we can get everything together. I know that's a vague answer, but
yeah,
that's basically the truth. We've got a couple of things that we have to narrow down with it. We'd like to add a few more capabilities to it. I can tell you it won't be as long as it has been.
Okay.
But I believe everybody that we have enough room in the beta test right now. See, the procedure used to be that you were limited to a number of beta testers. Right now, anybody that wishes the app pretty much can go. I think you're limited at 10,000, but we're we're only on the beta app now. We have many more people using the production app, but on the beta testers, we have probably under 500. So difference between 500 and 10,000, we have a long way to go with that. So if anybody wants to go ahead and use it, they're free to go ahead and do so, and then have the added bonus of being able to make comments and, influence. It's pretty much done now. We're adding different features, but also, as you add things tend to break, unfortunately. So, so I'm always glad to hear additional comments from folks.
Well, and the nice thing about the beta app, really, for anybody who hasn't tried it out, is that the only real difference between it being a beta app and not a beta app is the way that you download it, and you just have to go through 2 extra little steps first, by downloading the test flight and then going to a website to get the app. But I mean, after you've done that, it's really no different than any other app that you have on your phone, and you just periodically update it through test flight. But I'm pretty sure test flight gives you notifications when it needs to be updated. So I love it.
All right, we've got Eileen. You can hit unmute there, Eileen. So it's not letting me get you, Eileen. You can accept it. All right, and then while you're doing that, we got same with Laura Havard. And there you go, Laura.
Yes, thank you. I have a comment. I have a question. I'd like to say that I'm very pleased with having ability to be able to play Newsline on Alexa. And I just love it. I've been home and it's been really a gift, just reading lots of things I haven't had time for. Is there any plan to be able to go to the competitor? I have them in different parts of my house. I know that sounds crazy, but I do. That's my first question. And then I have a second one regarding the Alexa. I have a question about. Did you hear me?
Yeah, we heard.
Yes, we heard you. And Alexa said, thank you very much. I don't know if you heard her or not. She said, thank you very much. So she made a guest appearance.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can access NFB Newsline now on Google devices. The way that you do that is, we don't have a skill for that.
Okay.
But the way you would do it is basically you're making a phone call. If you're aware that you can make phone calls with the Google device, I have one sitting right here, so I'll just say, hey, G. So you would just want to say, hey, G, call, and then you're going to give your local phone number that you're calling to NFB Newsline.
Okay.
And it connects. Then obviously you don't have the opportunity to press the buttons, but what you would say is, hey, G. And for like when I ask you for your identification code, I would say, hey, G, press. Every time I wanted to do the numbers, I say press. And I would say press 028272 for like my ID code.
Okay. Will they remember it, or do you have to do that every time you want to play it?
You have to do it every time, unless, now, if you've gone into your Google Home app and you've indicated your phone number, it will do an auto login.
Say that one more time. I'm sorry.
So, that's all right. If you've gone, you have to go into your Google Home app. And if you specify, if you gave Google your permission to have your phone number, then it will use that phone number when it calls. If you haven't given permission, it basically is dialing it as an unknown number, so we don't know who you are.
Got it. Okay, that's awesome. And then I have another question. It may be I'm kind of technology challenged. Have a scenario where it'll play on one echo. It's fine, and it will not play on another. And I was just wondering if you have a solution to that. We're just kind of stumped.
Okay, now you will, when you say it doesn't play on the second one.
Right.
What does it do, or just?
It says it doesn't recognize it.
Right. Okay. So each device, you have to log in on each device.
So you would log on the app for each device, or do you actually have to?
You have to actually go to the device, and then you would say, A lady, open National Federation. on that device that's not working. And then you're going to have to go, just like you did on the first one, where you had to do the identification code and the security code. You'll have to do the same thing for every device that you have.
So it's not it's not global for the devices, it's device
Correct.
driven. Okay, that was not clear.
It's just for that, right. It's just for that one individual device that you're setting it up for.
Okay.
So that's why you have to do it for each one.
I know it sounds crazy, but we've been giving them so. Okay, that was not said, and I don't think we gleaned that from the instruction. Thank you. This is wonderful.
All right. Now we've got Eileen.
Hello, I have two questions. The first one is, can you tell us if Newsline is in all 50 states and in other countries? And can you also tell people how they can sign up for Newsline?
Okay, so NFB Newsline is unique to the United States. Service is not outside the United States, and because it's sponsored, by the individual state sponsors, so wouldn't be able to offer it. Now, we do hear from time to time from different countries that are interested. Usually, it's I hear off and on from Canada. So far, they haven't made any arrangements to purchase NFB Newsline. We have a number of people call in from Canada now. If you know of somebody, they're using it. Well, there are a few people now, just like with the National Library Service, you can be in another country as long as you retain your citizenship to the United States. You are qualified for things like National Library Service and NFB Newsline. The states that currently are not sponsored are going to be like Alaska, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Kansas. Those are the ones right at the moment. Now, President Riccoboni decided that he wanted to make sure that the virus information was available to all blind persons, all eligible blind persons that signed up for NFB Newsline. So right now we're running that through May 16th. So I don't know if that's going to get extended or not, but right now that's when it's scheduled to go through, is May 16th. How you would apply for NFB Newsline, there's a number of ways to do that. If an individual wants to go to the nfbnewsline.org, we have a self-application that people can apply for it right there. Probably one of the easiest ways to do it is if you're a patron of a talking book library, just go ahead and call the library and then say, I would like NFB Newsline. The National Library Service has a process that where we get a download of all those people across the country that have said that they want an NFB Newsline that week, and then we just enter them into the database. That's the easiest way to do it. Now, when you fill out an application, you can indicate that you have library service, or like an agency for the blind, or if a person is at a school for the blind. Then we can go ahead and verify with one of those people. And if all that fails, because some people aren't affiliated with any of those organizations, then if we had a note from your doctor basically saying that you could not read conventional newsprint, that would suffice as well.
And here in Colorado, you can email myself, Kevin, or Paul Sandoval, and we can all help people get into the system. So Eileen, if you talk with people as you're doing our COVID-19 outreach calls and things like that for Colorado, you can send us their info and we can get them put in the system.
All right, we've got Miss Latoya.
Hey, hello?
Yeah.
The NFB, is that the same thing as the access link thing on to read the newspaper articles? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Not familiar with what you're speaking of, access link. Is that something different in Colorado?
That's not a Colorado thing. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you're only sponsoring these two different formats of newspaper reading, correct?
Where are you at, Miss Latoya?
I'm in New Jersey.
Okay.
I'm East Coast.
Okay. So, no, what NFB Newsline, we have the newspapers, and I don't recall the ones there from New Jersey, but there's 3 or 4 of those. And, we have other things just to, quickly to go over that. You not only have the publications like your newspapers, but you have national, international. In total, we have like 500 publications.
Mm.
You can access that information on a wide wide variety of devices. We also have like the retail ads. We will have about 90 different magazines, TV listings, job listings. And you can access that in a variety of different ways. Earlier, we were talking about the Amazon device. So if you have an Amazon Alexa, you can use that to read the publications. A lot of people start off with the touch-tone telephone and using that. So basically, you can call on your landline or cell phone. If you use an iPhone, you have that you can access it as well through that app we were talking about a little bit earlier, rather. And then also we have, if you have a Victor Reader, you can download on that. What I would suggest is that you go ahead and we have a customer service line that's open from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And that's, of course, you're on the East Coast, but that's East Coast time. And give us a call. And then one of the customer service folks that answers the phone can give you more detailed information about NFB Newsline. And that number is 866-504-7300.
All right. 866-504-7300. All right. Thank you so much.
All right. We've got Grace.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi, Scott. It's Grace. I had a question about the beta app. I had it at one point, but then it stopped working. So then I just re-downloaded the regular Newsline app. So I thought, I didn't even know it was still in beta. So I'd have to go back and re-download it to check it out, right?
Yes. Now, what happens there is, as the beta cycle goes through, they won't let you make a beta longer than 90 days.
Oh.
So it has to be refreshed at least by every 90 days. So that's probably what happened to you is it went past that expiration date. So if you go and look in test flight, there should be another one there.
Oh, okay. All right, I will do that. Thank you.
You're welcome. We have heard a couple cases where it actually will drop a tester off there. So if it does, simply go back to nfbnewsline.org and follow those instructions again, and you should be good to go.
All right, we've got Lee Martin again.
Oh, okay. Let me raise
it privately. I got Lee to be quiet. That's amazing. Okay, Lee is a good friend of mine, y'all. So that's why I'm picking on him.
Let's see. I think he muted. Yeah, he. It's not letting me unmute you again, Lee. If you want, you can hit unmute there. And while he's doing that, we'll get Dan and Julie.
Just me this time.
Okay.
So Scott, I wanted to clarify something. I decided, since I use the mobile app every day, that I would beta test, and so I have to download, at least according to the website, do I have to download a test flight app first and then the beta? Is that how it works?
Okay. Now, have you participated in the beta program before?
Never.
Okay. So yes, the full instructions are on nfbnewsline.org. Scroll down the page there, and it talks about the beta, and it goes through it step by step. But yes, you have to go and get the test flight app first. That's the very first step.
That's on the App Store?
Yes, correct. And then you go and install that and open it up, and you have to go through these multiple pages of conditions and everything that giving away everything you ever had and agree to that. Once you get past that, then it will say you have no apps to test. At that point, that test flight is installed correctly. Then you go back to that website and just bring up the web page in Safari on your iPhone, and then find that link and tap on that link, and then that will register you as a test flight participant for the beta test, and then it will give you a download link.
Excellent. I'll do it.
All right, Lee's back. Lee.
Yes, Scott. I just wanted to know, I know we got Stone Soup on there for children, and there's been some additional ones added. Is there anything in the future for adding more publications for our children and youth?
Oh, most certainly, because we just had the 4 right now, the Stone Soup, highlights. We have Girls' Life, and we have National Geographic for kids. So this is something we've been wanting to add for a very long time, and we finally were able to add these 4. And, we're always looking for new suggestions. So anybody that has any suggestions of publications that would be good for this Kids Reading Corner, always glad to hear about any publications that subscribers want. Not that we can do everything, but you never know. And the more people that ask for that publication is going to have a higher likelihood that we'll be able to take a serious look at bringing that one. So I'm always interested to hear about suggestions. There aren't any plans to add any right at the moment, but if I had the ability to add one tomorrow, we could do so, or at least investigate it. Let's put it that way.
We've got Russ Davis.
Thank you so much. Hey, Scott, this is Russ in Florida. How are you?
How are you doing?
Oh, hanging in there. So you and I have talked about this before. I hope you don't mind me bringing it up. But as the Newsline coordinator here in Florida, talk to a lot of subscribers pretty much every day. Not nearly as many as you do, but still a pretty good amount. And it surprises me how many of them will still ask for an app for Android. And I know you and I have kind of covered this ground in the phone in the past, but it's probably been a year or more since we talked about it. So I kind of feel like I kind of have to ask for them. At least I can tell them, hey, what, we brought it up again, and Scott and I have talked about it. So where do we stand with the thoughts on that? I know that, just real quick, that the TalkBack feature for Android has gotten so much better than it used to be. And we do have a lot of users who have enough usable vision where they still can kind of navigate their Android phones a little bit, but I'd still love them to have the access to NFB Newsline on those types of phones. So again, hope you didn't mind me bringing that up again to you.
That's fine. Well, our focus right now is really on getting the app complete, and also working on putting more development work into the Amazon device. Now, I have heard from more Android users, still not that many, but I have heard from more. Now I'll probably hear from more tomorrow. But anyway, but I kept hearing from a lot of the same people, and so. But what I encourage people to do is to go ahead and use their Chrome browser that's on their phone and go to nfbnewslineonline.org. Is it exactly the same as using an app? No, but it's a close and it's a good mobile experience as far as being able to read the material. And that's what I advise people to use for Android right at the moment.
I say just go get an iPhone. No, I'm just kidding.
That was the wrong thing to say. Now you're going to get hate mail. But you brought it on yourself. So.
No, I'm just joking. Well, Scott, thank you so much. That's the last of the questions that we have. Again, everybody, these sessions are recorded and they're going to be available on the National Federation of the Blind of Colorado YouTube channel. So thanks everyone for being with us tonight. A special thank you to Scott. I really enjoyed it, and I hope everyone has a great evening.
Okay, well, thank you, Jessica. And you didn't ask the one question that I was thinking you were going to ask.
Oh, what was that?
What was my favorite book?
Oh, well, what is it?
1984.
Oh, I do like that one. That's a good one for right now too, while we're in the thick of the government conspiracy, according to some people.
So yes, that's you sort of got the drift there. But anyway, it is a good book, and it is available from a National Library Service as well as it's on Bookshare. So everybody should go out and grab that. So and you can see a lot of parallels, and I'll let you draw your own conclusions. Don't want to spoil it for you, but it is a good book, and I think that was one of the books, along with Animal Farm, that by Orwell, that we had to read, when I was in high school. So.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.